Hey guys, it is Adam with LFG Nexus, and I am here to present from LFG Nexus live with Storyteller. So today we're going to be talking with a gentleman by the name of Charles Bailey. Charles has been in LARPing for quite some time, but we're going to talk to him, learn a little bit more, ask him some questions, get some cool stories, just have a good chat with Charles. But just want to go ahead and just kind of take a second and kind of reiterate kind of how we do things here. Again, this is a place for people to come to learn more about LARPing, to possibly get involved, to maybe reinvigorate older people, or for just, people to kind of just reminisce about some of the stories of yesteryear. Again, we would love to try to bring more people into the fold of LARPing. It's a great way to meet other people, to kind of express certain things that are going on with you, depending on the different type of LARPs that you're interested in. There's a lot of physicality as well as, a lot of thinking and social aspects that are just really great for learning. We've done about 6 or 7 of these before, and, everyone's always been really excited about, kind of telling their stories and stuff like that. So, today we're going to have Charles, and definitely looking forward to that. At the same time, we appreciate you coming here. This is sponsored by LFG Nexus, you see in the top corner here. Which is a social media platform built for gamers, by gamers. And here, put the little thing up here. So we cater to all different types of gamers. It's basically a place to get away from some of the other noise you might find on other platforms, and a place for you to be able to, meet with people, play the games, find out about different things. So even like their LARP starting to put up LARP events up here, all different types of games coming out. We can stream or watch streams on here. We can help you find other people to play games with, find local events that are in your area, and just lots of great stuff. So we hope you'll go ahead and check us out. Again, that's www.lfgnexus.com. But so that's kind of the stuff. So let me do this. So I do kind of have to pay our bills, but let me go ahead and bring on Charles Bailey in just a second. We're just going to go through a quick video or two, and we'll go ahead and get started.
People everywhere are discovering how 5G can change their lives, but Apartments.com has changed millions of renters' lives by helping them get into new homes. So, we already knew all about the power of 5G. We've had it in every town and city for years. And also 6G, and 4C, and 2R, and 7L. What else would you expect from the site with the most listings anywhere? Apartments.com, the most popular place to find a place. Hello?
Hey Charles, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Adam. How you doing?
Awesome. I am doing wonderful. So thank you for coming on the show. Again, this is really just kind of, help spread the word about LARPing and how fun it can be and stuff like that. But with that being said, how did you let's go ahead and start.
Okay.
How did you get started LARPing?
It was a dark and stormy night at Chattacon, 1991, or somewhere around that time. Gentleman named Jay Schneider was regaling a room full of people at this convention with stories of a game that he had been to in the faraway land of Boston.
Oh, the faraway land, yes.
Faraway land of Boston. He had gone to a kingdom called Evandar and had played a game and was so enamored by it that he decided he wanted to bring it to Atlanta. And so over the course of the next couple of years, on and off, the planning was made for it. And I kind of lost touch with them for a little bit, but came back around, I think I want to say 92, something like that, 92, 93, DooleyCon. So a deep dive there.
Wow.
A really old con. There was a module that was being run and it was for Nero. And I got to run a module where I almost got killed because I wasn't a necromancer.
Actually, wearing my necromancy shirt.
There you go. But no, it was. I was introduced to several characters that became mainstays in the LARPing community for several years. Was part of their group. They looked at me and said, "Do we need to kill this guy?" And so I'm like, "How about I call upon chaos to cause light wounds?" They're like, "Okay, he's good. He's cool. We'll keep him."
So for those that aren't familiar with Nero, Solar, that sort of thing, that basically kind of made you appear to be a necromancer, right?
Yes, that made me appear to be a necromancer because I was casting a necromantic spell.
Okay.
And so thus Finn McCool entered into LARPing.
Very cool.
And then I think a little bit after that, we had the first, there was the infamous Dragon Con event where this LARP was never invited back to Dragon Con because of all the cornstarch that was left on the floor.
Nice.
Because this was the olden days when you had to have your spell packets need to be made out of cornstarch.
Wow.
Spell packets were basic for those who aren't really LARPers. Spell packets are the physical representation of what you're throwing to hit somebody with a spell. And currently they're made out of birdseed, but in the olden days it was made out of cornstarch and tissue paper. Until we found out that if cornstarch gets anywhere near an open flame, it explodes.
Wow.
And so that was when we made the transition from cornstarch to birdseed spell packets. But so pretty much I would probably say that I've probably was there at the beginning for Atlanta.
Wow. So, that's back in 91, you were saying.
91, 92, I want to say. It's like, all the years blend together now.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
After all that, but I want to say it was probably around 91. It was around the time that I think Nero had their first advertisement in Dragon magazine.
The advertising Dragon magazine.
They advertised in Dragon magazine.
That's interesting. So, for those that don't know, Dragon magazine, one of the Dungeons and Dragons magazines, and so it's definitely really interesting. And the funny thing is, actually, just because you brought it up, I do see nowadays, like from being in a lot of D&D based Facebook groups and stuff like that there's definitely a lot more people talking about LARPs.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, there's heck, LARP even made it into Hawkeye. Yes, yeah. Chuck, I was a necromancer.
Exactly. So, by the way, anyone that's on here, feel free to harass Charles. Yeah. That's part of the live experience.
Yeah, Chuck is actually part of the team I'm currently with.
Awesome.
So he is. So yes, Chuck. There you go. The answer is I was always a necromancer. Always have been. Always will be.
And so you said the name of your character was Finn McCool.
Finn McCool. Yes, it was. I basically blatantly stole it from Irish mythology. My character was indeed based on Finn McCool, even down to being a fairy. Even though Fae didn't exist in the game at the time in early Nero.
Okay.
I was actually on plot at the time. So he was kind of sort of an NPC, non-player character. So
right. So, but so did he start out as your PC and you turn him into an NPC so that you get the plot stuff?
Yeah, he started off as a PC, converted into an NPC, and then was banished from the kingdom for being a Fae. Mm. So he was basically it's like, okay, you can't once I went off plot, he was banished, and so my next character began. So
how did you come up with your next character? What was kind of the process or the thought?
Well, the next character was I wanted to be something that no one else was.
Sure.
And that was a Sar, which is a cat race. And so I was a lion Sar, Had no idea what his name was going to be. Had no idea for his backstory. I was just going to Boston. It was one of our first. In the old days, we traveled to Boston quite a bit, and this was on our first trip to Boston. I'm like, I've got to have a new character. I don't know what it's going to be. Okay, he's a SAR. We'll call him Lucan, but he needs a last name. And so we are driving up to Boston, and we pass the town of Chamberlain. And I'm like, I like that. That's a good name. So Lucan Chamberlain was born. SAR fighter, wielder of Marlin the Talking Fish Sword. My first magic item.
Okay.
Grimly was a little bit funny on that one, and so he decided he was going to make fun of me and gave me a sword that was shaped like a fish.
And it talked, or it just?
No, it didn't talk. It was just basically that they called the Marlin was a mythical talking fish.
Okay.
In the kingdom, so that was that. So basically, I had gone off plot and became a PC, and had several interesting adventures over the years with that.
Sure. Was Lucan more of a, what type of alignment would you consider?
So he was very, very good. He was a good guy working for bad people. I mean, for those who used to play Nero / Solar, he was a member of the Knights Diite, which was the good guy group who were Dragon Slayers.
Okay.
So he was a good guy. He was the bodyguard to the Baroness.
Very cool.
And then ended up he basically ended up going. I think actually what happened was, surprisingly enough, around, I want to say halfway part of the way through his through his story, he ended up transitioning over to the new Nero Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically went away for a while because I actually started working for a gaming company.
Okay, cool.
In 95, I started working for White Wolf Publishing.
Okay, so definitely heard of them.
So I transitioned from one kind of LARP to another. Transitioned from the Boffer LARP to the theater LARP. Back in the early days when White Wolf was starting to do I guess they called it parlor LARP back then. When they first started doing Mind's Eye Theater. So I had basically moved away. I'd moved away from doing that because my weekends were going away because I was going to conventions. Working for White Wolf, and then amusingly, not even really working for the LARP part of it. I was their accounts receivable manager.
Oh, okay.
So I was collecting money.
That's good.
But yeah, so that was the, I want to say 95, and then around 2000. Kat, what are you doing? Around 2002, White Wolf moved me to take over their fan club. So I went from playing in LARPs to managing a LARP.
Oh wow! How was that?
Oh, it was interesting. I mean, it was definitely seeing it as having to see it as a business. Helping, working to plan the conventions, working to decide, working to manage the actual running of the fan club. So it was definitely seeing the trend of being being a business as opposed to being just hanging out and playing.
Right. That's...
Now the funny thing is, though, to back it up for a bit, because I did bury the lead on this one. Nero got me my job at White Wolf.
Interesting. Okay.
Because there were two players at Nero by the name of Ian Lemke, who some people may know.
Oh,
He was the changeling developer. Was basically working at White Wolf, and he was like, you have a business major, right? I'm like, yeah. He says, why don't you come interview for this company that I work for? I'm like, so basically, LARPing got me into gaming, got me into a gaming company, who then put me even more into LARPing.
That's good, right?
So I mean, it was but like it's interesting. But my first real taste of storytelling was through White Wolf and the Camarilla.
Okay.
Because I was basically working conventions and helping to craft, working with their storytellers to come up with, one-shot stories or overarching stories.
Nice. So let me ask you about that, just because I have a little bit of experience. I think one of the first times I actually did kind of LARP was at like Dragon Con, where White Wolf was running an event, which I think is what you're about to talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. Basically, it's the running the larger scale events, planning NPCs, running the stories for those Dragon Con, Gen Con, anything with a con at the back of it, and then they ran their own conventions as well for the members. I mean, I think it was the scale on that one was, we had gone from looking at the individual LARP for Nero, being 100 people, 150 people, to a fan club of over 2,000 to 3,000 people.
Wow, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I did come down mostly on the coordinator side, but I did have times where I would actually get a chance to run stories.
Cool.
Those were fun stories.
So, how are they different than I guess parlor stories versus, I guess, what we call light buffer?
Right. So parlor stories are they're very similar in the fact that the PCs are pretty much running the show. This is where I first learned the axiom of no plan, no story survives first contact with the players.
Yep.
You have to be able to roll with it. Now, I will say that I have been one of the players that has destroyed, not destroyed stories, but made it go off in a different direction. Sure. So it was kind of basically it was I gave as good as I got, and it was given back to me.
Was there any particular stories, especially let's kind of going through White Wolf, that you just really loved or people really got into?
So yes, actually, my favorite one is we were ending the world.
Oh.
It was basically when we were going from we were changing editions.
Mm-hmm.
We were basically going. We were going to. We had changed the tabletop edition, and we were going to be changing the Mind's Eye Theater edition. So we're like, you know what? We've been teasing Gehenna for years. Let's make it happen. So thus the Year of Fire was born. Everything burned. It was supposed to burn.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We can't bring Cain out. That would just be, that would be cliche.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we have this book called Demon the Fallen. Why don't we bring that main character into the vampire realm?
Sure.
Main character was Lucifer Morningstar. So we're like, but we can't call him Lucifer. No, we can't. That would just be bad for PR.
Yeah.
We'll call him Enigma. And he will go from game to game. And he will basically, he has, when they used to joke that Cain has the character sheet of I can do it.
Sure.
This guy had the same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
His favorite trick was to turn vampires into humans.
Wow.
You want to see somebody? You want to see a PC cry?
Yep, that'll do it.
They will come up. They came up to me like, "Turn me human! Turn me human!" Sir, you are an 8th generation vampire who's been alive for 1,000 years. Are you really sure you want that? Yes, I want to be human. Next game, next convention game. Can you turn me back into a vampire? No, it's a one-way street. Sorry.
Did they cry again then?
Oh, he was hilarious, and I think this came out. Oh, I want to say around the time that the Kevin Smith movie came out.
Dogma.
And so Enigma walked around in a white suit.
Nice. Cool. Very cool.
He walked around in a white suit, and he would grant wishes. I mean, basically everybody finally figured out who he was when they had Lilith show up.
Okay.
Now, you never want to meet your ex.
Yeah.
You never want to meet your ex.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He met his ex in the middle of a convention.
Probably didn't go well.
It did not go well for him. But that was probably my favorite NPC. Is that is basically it was something that got to live for a year and come into contact with I want to say we probably had about 8 or 10 conventions that year plus Dragon Con.
Wow.
8 or 10 regional conventions, and then Dragon Con. And so he got to interact with a lot of people. And the funny thing is it's still talked about today.
Oh,
so it's it's when the old folks get together.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's kind of why we're doing this. It's to kind of remember the old stuff. One of the people that I think it might have been Chris Dotson, like the second show that we did, he talked about how this is kind of like one of the ways to keep track of some of the stories that have been kind of orally passed down.
Oh yeah.
And so I never really thought about it this way, but that's kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah, I mean it's the I guess my only regret is during the time period that I was working for White Wolf, I didn't really get a chance to do much stuff like Legends or I did get a chance to do Shattered Isles.
Okay, cool.
So that was Shattered Isles was fun.
Awesome.
That was actually one of the first times that I had come across a LARP with a 5-year arc. It basically had a story planned out for the 5-year run of the of it, and apparently it came pretty close to what the Storytellers wanted to have happen. So I guess that story did survive contact. I mean, there was a lot of changes.
Sure.
But but I think when they finally got to the end of it, story was told. I think by the end they had Jedi.
Oh wow!
They had crystal swords that and Jedi mind tricks, and I'm like, okay, it's fun. It worked, but like I said, I never got a chance to play Legends, so I do regret that. Because that during that time period, like I say, it was pretty much, sadly, weekends and such were booked with the with the I guess what we call the day job.
Right. Here we're pretty agnostic when it comes to just LARPing. We're here to help everybody.
Yeah.
However, one of the neat things you've kind of described a couple different types of games, just for people that haven't played before. So you talked about basically the parlor LARPs with the
parlor LARP. Okay. Let me get you back for parlor LARP. So the difference is between parlor LARP and light touch is that parlor LARP is more role playing.
Right.
You're basically you are your character. You are role playing your character. Combat is handled either with rock, paper, scissors or rock, paper, scissors cards.
Okay.
at least in the version that we were, that I was playing, in the earlier versions that I was working with. So there was really, there was no real weapons. There was everything was a card based.
Mm-hmm.
It's the joke is, you would have somebody in the early days walking in wearing a pair of blue jeans and a t-shirt, and it had a card on it that said, Armani suit, fashion ×5. And you were supposed to, go like, oh, wow, that guy's got an Armani suit on. Wow. No, he's got blue jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So it's like, that was, the light touch LARPs
Mm-hmm.
started, were the ones that I really saw that started with the costume craze. More armor, more costuming, and we could probably do a whole half hour on the on how weapons changed.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I mean, you used to be 3/4 inch. What was it? 3/4 inch pipe foam and tubing.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got swords, that are made of latex.
Absolutely.
That are we have a guy on our team that is a latex master.
Wow.
And the stuff that he makes for weapons is just like incredible. They are so lifelike. And so, from 91 to now, no, you can't, it's like, wow, the technology.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's really interesting the way that it's gone, because I know that a lot of people have kind of gotten into latex weapons. They look great. Mm-hmm. Personally, the weapon I have, a friend made about 10 years ago, I still use it. It probably weighs about like 2 or 3 ounces.
Oh yeah.
It's like I can move that thing really fast.
Was that an old kite spar?
Yeah, it's just for those that aren't familiar, it's like made out of the spar that they use for kites. So obviously it's pretty rigid, but it's also very light. Actually, it might even be a fishing pole. I would have to. There's a couple people that were doing crafting. They were actually using fishing poles.
I was gonna say there's the fishing pole. There was the kite spar, and my favorite, the golf club.
So I had a friend, very good friend, that he made a lot of golf club weapons. They're really nice. They were, at the time, they were a lot lighter than the PVC weapons that you're talking about, like 3/4 or 5/8 of an inch. But once you compare, so I like in my basement or in my garage, I've got one of those golf clubs, mm-hmm. and then I also have this other sword that's mine, and it's like mine almost like floats on air. It's pretty ridiculous. We
used to call the kite spar cheating sticks. Back in the old days, it's like it's like, because literally it would be bam, bam, bam. It was the see if I can remember what the rotation was: ankle, shoulder, ankle.
Something like that, yeah.
Basically walking up and down while avoiding the head.
Yeah. So,
but like I say, the technology for light touch is incredible now.
Absolutely. So the other type, though, is, so you've done parlor, you've done light touch. Now you've done light touch, but with at Shattered Isles, from my understanding, mm-hmm. is that it's hit location.
Yes, hit locate, right. So
can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Okay, so Nero is armor based, armor and hit point based. So I could hit you in the ankle all day long, and you would eventually fall down. You could hit. You would basically. It doesn't matter where you're hit. It's the number of points are taken away.
Right.
So if you have a fighter, decent level fighters probably got about 100 body and can wear about 20 armor. So the armor would go first, or protectives would go first, then armor, then body.
Right.
Now hit location is different in that if I hit you twice in the arm, you can no longer use your arm. It's sort of like the SCA.
Right. And for those that are not familiar with that, if you ever seen the movie Role Models,
Yeah.
with like Sean Stifler, I forget his McLovin or some names, Ant-Man. I forgot their names right now, but it was a really good movie that had some famous people trying to make LARPing look cool. Oh, Chen.
Well, it's the. I'm going to circle back around to that in a second because I've actually got a story about that.
Oh,
not about role models. But no, it's but hit location is if I hit you in the chest twice, you're pretty much dead. If I hit you in the arm, that arm goes dead. The leg, same thing. So basically, you have a certain number of times you can be hit, and skills would give you more points, and armor would give you more resistance. Personally, I like hit location better. It makes fights quicker. In that, if you're hitting the bad guy and the bad guy has got, let's say in Nero, a bad guy might have 200 to 300 points of armor, or 200 to 300 points of hit points to go through before you could take them down. But in a hit location system, they might have, maybe augmented to where there's more hits in the arm or whatever that you would have to do to make them not be able to use that anymore. Okay. But it's still going to be, this fight's still going to be a lot quicker. So circling back around to you're talking about role models.
Yes.
If anything, the best story I've ever had was I was living in Florida in 2011. I had actually moved to Florida, taken a break from LARPing again after I'd moved away from White Wolf. And got a call for a movie called Knights of Badassdom.
Oh, I love that movie.
Okay, so I'm living in Florida. Somehow, I hear about this movie. I want to say it was probably through one of my friends in Florida, and she's like, "You should do it. You should do it."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what have I got to lose? I don't have a day job. I've retired.
Mm-hmm.
I took an early retirement. I drive my butt to Spokane, Washington.
Wow. Okay.
In July of 2011, and spend a month and a half in Spokane with 50 people that are now some good friends of mine that were all LARPers from the Pacific Southwest.
Nice.
I think I got on screen one time where I learned the valuable lesson. 50 pounds of chainmail may be great when you're playing a LARP, but when you're doing a movie and it's covered with a tabard just so you can't see the chainmail.
So you're wearing it, but they can't see it. All right. Yeah.
I'm wearing it, but they can't see it, and you can't see my face because I have a Batman mask on. It's not really a Batman mask, but it looks like a Batman mask.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like I got one hero shot in that entire, for a month and a half. But I had a month and a half worth of stories of LARPers, of basically hanging out with LARPers every day.
Nice.
And hanging out with, oh gosh, what was it? They also had reenactors that were wearing heavy armor.
Oh wow!
So they weren't LARPers, but they had costumes, and so they were basically walking around in their plate. So I didn't feel that bad.
Yeah. Because
these guys were wearing plate.
Mm-hmm.
So they were definitely they definitely had more armor than I had.
Nice.
But so it was so that was actually, the sad thing is the movie was supposed to be a lot better. It's supposed to be a horror movie with LARPing.
Yep.
But it had Summer Glau in it.
It had a great audience. So I'm sorry, a great cast. For those that aren't familiar, it had if you ever watched True Blood, what was his name? Jason?
Yeah, Ryan Quattan.
Mhm.
who actually does not have a Southern accent.
Just an actor. Hmm.
He is not from the U.S. He is from New Zealand. I believe he's from New
Oh,
Zealand. But it's like the first time I heard him talking with his real not, you know, not True Blood accent, I'm like, okay.
mhm. It has Peter Dinklage,
Mhm.
Tyrion Lannister.
Yep.
It has. If you ever watch Community, what's his name?
Pooty.
I'm sorry.
I think it's Pooty. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but no, it's
Right.
he's
It's
in
not
it.
Donald Glover. It's the other gentleman, uh, who's very funny as well. It had Steven Zahn,
Hmm.
as you mentioned. What's her name? Summer.
Summer Glau.
Yep.
Summer Glau from the Terminator, Firefly.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing was with Peter Dinklage, that was actually the last film that he did before he went to take over to work on Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
When they wrapped, he was actually flying out to start Game of Thrones.
Really? Okay. I thought it might have been one or two seasons already into Game of Thrones.
No, he was because it was 2011. The movie itself got held up in developmental
That's why I thought it.
issues for a couple, for more time.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it was actually decent in presenting LARPing.
Mhm.
I mean, it was no Hawkeye though.
Uh-huh. True. Hawkeye
It
was
was no
definitely really
Hawkeye. I mean,
interesting.
Hawkeye did a good job of presenting LARPing as LARPing, and I think it's actually probably the first time that there's actually been that the characters that were LARPers were presented as professionals. And I mean that's something you don't see. Mostly they're fringe characters, but for Hawkeye they were first responders. They were
Which is
police
great. Yeah.
firefighters.
Mhm.
So
Um, so yeah, that was definitely interesting, and especially because they had the LARPers in like 4 out of the 6 episodes
mhm.
of Hawkeye, so they're kind of
Yeah,
recurring characters, which is neat.
they were reoccurring. Filmed at Stone Mountain, by the way. That the first LARP scene was filmed in Stone Mountain.
Mhm. And actually, I think a common friend of ours supplied a lot of the weapons
Yes she did. Yes
and
she did.
armor and stuff like that. So it was interesting seeing that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
But yeah,
but,
it was so yeah. She provided quite a bit of that. So it was good. It was good to see some weapons that we had seen previously that actually were being used at games.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. It was funny. I didn't realize it. I was like, it looked kind of familiar, and then
Mhm.
I saw that she had posted on Facebook that
Yeah,
that they're actually using her stuff.
yeah,
Uh,
they were. It's like, oh, I know that maker.
uh-huh. Exactly. So
It's like you could. Yeah,
let me get kind of back on track a little bit.
sorry
I
about
mean,
that.
these are still no, it's fine. I mean, these are still stories related to LARPing and that sort of thing, and some kind of cool, fun stuff. But when you play your characters, do you ever like kind of give them quirks or kind of make it a little bit more of a challenge for yourself, as in?
Oh, definitely. It's like I've well, the funny thing is Finn is still around.
Okay,
He's gone through several changes
sure.
over the years, and he has been um I want to say he's definitely evolved. Um because plot will always give you things to evolve your character give you room for character growth. Um and so yes, I do give them quirks. Um Chuck is probably laughing right now.
Oh, actually, sorry, I do see there was a comment. Let's see. Not very understand. Is that the actor you're trying to?
No, it was Danny. Danny, I think was his first
Yeah,
name.
that's his name.
Danny Pooty, yeah,
Okay, yes, that's right. The
from Community. So, but no, so it's I mean, I try to make them a little bit more than one dimensional.
definitely.
Um, because this guy is in a society that is constantly it's like the biggest quirk right now is he hates adventurers.
Interesting.
He hates adventurers, and he never wants to be nobility.
Okay.
He's been nobility twice already.
Sure.
It's been there, done that. Don't even want to be, don't even want to think about it anymore. As a matter of fact, when he came into the season last year, when the new game started, he was nobility, and he basically is like, see you, bye. I'm a commoner now. But he hates adventurers, because wherever there's an adventurer, there's trouble.
Yeah.
He had, and I actually build that. I build that, and I do build that into some of the story arcs that I did in the olden days. Where adventurers were second class citizens.
Interesting. So how did that work out?
It worked out basically. It's like, we're like, how come we're never allowed into the good part of town? And because we were there, literally there was a part, there was the city of Tiringal.
Yes.
And there was a part of Tiringal that we always had our game in, but then there was the other part that no one ever went to because they couldn't. It's like, we really don't like your kind around here. But it was, and that was done basically poking fun at the trope of the adventurers are always causing trouble. And we actually addressed that because we had an NPC come in, and it's like, we don't like you. Our fields burn down when you come here. Now we may need you, but we don't want you coming to where we live.
Yeah.
Because where you come, when you come, stuff happens. The dragons show up. The undead show up.
Yeah, they bring with them.
We bring it with us. And so my character, so Finn is now, I like to refer to him as, I'm going to sit on the porch and tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
He has been an adventurer since 1991, in theory.
Like 32 years.
So he's been an adventurer. He should be dead by now. Given the lifespan of a medieval society, he should be dead by now. But now he's the guy. Now he'll sit on the porch and tell stories. Used to be the one of the funny things is I went to go visit. Hey, I do porch sit. Chuck is calling me out again.
Yeah.
No, it's but it's like I used to I took a break from one of the older games and went back as my original character, and found out that I had a fanboy.
That's right.
There was a character who had heard all the old stories of this guy, and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. So I was sitting on the porch telling stories, and it was the Lucan. It was for Lucan, and these poor little SAR hunters came up, and they're like, "Oh, there's a SAR. We're gonna kill it." And I'm literally sitting here on the porch telling stories about the big bad guy.
Yep.
From the olden days. And these guys come up and they jump me, and I'm like, bad career decision. Number one, I'll give you a chance to go. I'll give you a chance to leave now. And they come up and they go, too normal. Too normal. I'm like, and for those that are not familiar with the Nero style of LARPing, as you get more skilled, you can call more damage. So
two is basically the base for most.
So two is the base for a longsword.
So it means that they have no additional skills. So they're
no additional skills. And I'm like, okay, time to teach a lesson. Stand up. There was 4 of them. Prepare that I slay. Prepare that I slay. Prepare that I slay. Prepare that I slay. And they all fall down. And that is basically prepare to die is a special skill that would, in this particular game system, reduce you to -1. So where you're bleeding out.
Right. This is like the big epitome of skills for a warrior.
It is the biggest epitome of the skills for the warriors, and he had 4 of them.
Which is
so that would have basically told them that, okay, wait a minute, and they're like, can we see your character card?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's nice of you. I probably wouldn't have shown people my character card. I would have been like, well, if you feel like I'm cheating, feel free to.
Well, it was actually I did it because where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the other game that was my home game. If they ever had a question, basically it was if you ever had a question,
sure,
about a character, you could ask to see their card.
Okay, sure. I guess where I had played, it was a little bit more of like, of course, if an administrator of the game or someone who was on plot asked, that's one thing,
right?
But for just in because I guess when I was playing some of these games, like PvP was there. It was out.
And okay. And so that was the game you're thinking of.
Mm-hmm. And so showing anybody like what stats you have was just
right. Oh yeah, no, it was. But then again, it was also I was there visiting.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's another thing. So yeah,
I was there visiting. I hadn't played there in 10, 15 years.
That makes sense. Then I would get it.
So it was like, it was one of those. Okay, had it been one of the I'm going to be staying for a while. I never would have done that.
Right. Okay.
It would have been literally to the guy going, you literally heard me telling stories. You heard me call this guy by his name that he has not used in 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yeah.
So
no, I definitely, if you were visiting, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was as far as quirks go. Honestly, I'm getting back in the swing.
Okay.
But COVID, the as we like to say, in the before times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was a LARP. There was a LARP every month, sometimes twice a month. Now it's not as much. Not as much. The game that I currently play started last year. They just started into their second year.
Okay.
And I mean, I think we started with 10 players.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we're now up to upwards of, I want to say 60 to 70.
Okay. Cool.
It's not the grand old days when you had 150 people on site, but we're getting there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing. People are starting to come back out, which is good. I know that right now, especially in Atlanta, there's kind of a reemergence and reshuffling of games.
Right.
I've talked to at least 3 or 4 people that are talking about supposedly, creating new games. I know that some have kind of figured it out a little bit with COVID and things like that.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to where we were, do you ever have any LARP dreams where you kind of dream about telling a LARP? The way you laugh, I guess you probably have. So
I have. The thing is mostly when I'm having LARP dreams, I'm at a LARP.
Okay.
So it is, literally, I think I have deathed my cabin mates before. Yeah, I definitely have done that. And it was, I don't really dream outside of the game about it for the most part, but I have no idea. I'm gonna have to ask him on that one. But no, it's and if it is, I'm actually dreaming as my character, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it's it's kind of like, and it's basically seeing everything. Seeing I want to say probably the most recurring one I ever had was we had a plot line with a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And my SAR character would dream about it because we were basically it was every event, and because we were also doing between game events, between game actions, and so Plot would send me what was happening in my character, and I would actually start dreaming that, and so it's like, oh great, but it did help.
Interesting.
It would give me something to do, to go back to Plot and say, okay, now I'm going to do this.
Okay.
And would use and basically would use the what happened in a dream for the story. So unfortunately, that hasn't haven't had that in a while. But then again, also, it's been a while since since we've had an active LARP, or since I've had an active use of my character.
Sure. So what's the craziest thing you've done on site? But keep it clean. But
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely keeping it clean. Definitely the craziest thing I've ever done. I would say that is probably the 4-hour field battle that was 3 people.
3 people.
3 people.
How did that work?
I jumped down a mushroom circle.
Okay.
2 other people jumped down with me. And we had our own personal field battle. And halfway through the field battle, skills reset.
Okay. Well, that's good. That helps.
Mr. Chadwick, I'll never forgive you for that.
Okay.
But no, it was literally the first time that somebody looked at it and said, "Finn, go down the hole," and they didn't come with me. I mean, that was probably the craziest PC thing I've ever done. The craziest storytelling thing I've ever done is I had a 74-player TPK.
Wow.
74 players, killed them all using explosive traps.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was actually the one of my other team members was telling that story to the current game, and the guy who's head of plot now, who had never heard the story, just was like, you could see his face going, "You did what?" I'm like, and now you know why I advocate for players' rights.
Sure.
I now basically go, okay, players, to give the players the benefit of the doubt. What happened with that one is we had an necropolis. We had spent the entire weekend planting explosives in that necropolis. We had told everyone that you want to be outside of this area when the explosives go off, and everyone was not out of the area. Now, they didn't complain about losing a life.
Okay.
Because there were people around that could life them.
Okay.
They complained because they didn't have shatter resistant pouches.
So all their stuff
Went away.
Sorry, I was going to say something else, but I edited myself at the last.
All their stuff, all of their gold, all of their potions, all of their scrolls.
No, that's rough. People would rather die than lose their crap.
Now, I will say this: we then recycled everything.
Well, that's good.
So it actually went back out on monsters later on, but it was redistributed to other people.
Nice. So let me ask you this. We've talked a little bit about some of the stories, but how has LARPing affected you, like in your professional life?
Oh,
I mean, obviously we talked about the White Wolf, and that was.
Literally, it transformed it. Honestly, I mean, it has. I mean, I was always a little bit of a weirdo. You know, the whole Rocky, you know, the whole Rocky Horror convention thing.
Oh, all right. Well, that's another level, but
Yeah, it's like I used to do conventions long before I was LARPing. Fantasy Fair.
okay.
Yeah, there you go. There's your deep cut.
Hmm.
So I used to work Fantasy Fair. I used to go to those conventions, but I had never really gotten into the actual cosplay or anything like that.
Sure. And now it's huge.
Now it's huge. I mean, it was huge then.
Well,
It
sure.
just wasn't. Again, it was the scale. The scale of not as professional. I mean, you're probably thinking back then. I would say probably back then, what you would consider a professional costume
Mhm.
back then is probably now something that a beginner would do.
Right.
Would put together. But so basically, how it pretty much affected my life is it turned the trajectory. I mean, I graduated with a degree in management.
Hmm.
I then went into accounting. Still in accounting,
Hmm.
but I took that left turn at Albuquerque for 10 years, where I combined accounting and gaming.
Hmm.
A good number of my friends are LARPers.
Yeah.
My best friend that I've had for I'm going to say since like 2007, I met at LARP. I mean that along with doing convention handling and all that has pretty much given me some good given me some good side gigs, and given me basically a different look at life. Honestly,
So let me ask you this: how do you think we bring more people into the LARPing community?
making it more I mean, making it more open. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The COVID was probably a good thing for the reset button.
Right. Okay.
It's like the LARP that I was in prior to COVID had been going on since 95.
Okay. Yeah.
94, 95. It had been a continuous game since then. So it went from 95 to 2019, 2020. So you had a lot of people, you had a lot of characters that were higher level that had been, that had the fully developed stories, and breaking in and a new player breaking in to that was difficult.
Hmm.
Since the reset button was hit, it's easier for people to get involved. Like I said, the game that I'm playing now, we started off with 10 players, and through word of mouth only, we're now 60, 70 players, and there's a lot of players that are newer.
That's good.
That are learning the system. So the curve, the curve to get into the game is a lot better now. So it's like if we're able to, say, hey, come have fun, come dress up, come be who you don't, come be who you don't, who you're not really, who you're not really are, who do you want to be?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be? You want to spend a weekend in the woods, getting away from life.
Yeah.
And having camaraderie. I mean, it's this new this game is, while it's a part of the another franchise, part of franchise.
Hmm.
It is still open and growing because we have new players.
It's the lifeblood of the game. You got to be able to keep those new players or bring on new players.
You got to make it exciting for the new players. Exactly. Less of the good old boy cliches.
Mm-hmm.
The old boys network was, you don't want to talk about it, but it was there.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't know anybody, you couldn't get in on story.
It's true.
I mean, the best advice I can give for anybody who's been LARPing for a while, to anybody who is to try to bring in new LARPers,
That's my next question.
is be open.
Mhm.
Be there, answer questions.
Okay, so from the older player to the newer player.
Yeah, the older players to the new. It's like, hey, listen, it's the, we may tell these stories of the good old days, but now we're making new stories.
Yep, that's why we're here.
And we're making new stories by having new, by being open and inviting to new people. And I think now once we start seeing more of the games coming back around, and newer games coming back around, and new games coming back around. There's a few that I've seen that I'm excited, that I would really love to get involved in, because it's a new concept, so everyone's going to be on the same footing.
Yeah.
Learning the game together and making story together, and you can't be standoffish. You can't be oh well, learn it and play. I want to say that was probably when I heard that about some other about people saying that, I'm like, and you expect them to come and spend money?
Yeah.
And come back? Find out and play? No. Come hang out. Role play.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I guess, so you're basically saying, new players come and just get involved.
Get involved. It's like, there is, it's right. I mean, the time, honestly, the time is right.
Yeah.
We have now, I mean, I have to say, you were talking about role models and the other movies, and I'm like, they were okay, but they also had the making light of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you would be surprised at the number of professionals that we do have that are that game and LARP, and that's why that's why I was like really happy to see that Hawkeye. Again, circling back to Hawkeye. Here you've got professionals. They may be geeky, but at the end of the day, it's a police officer, it's a firefighter, it's a first responder. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely a big thing. Just go there, get involved. To be honest, when I first got started, I was told that you never talk to plot, you never get involved with stuff because you're going to get something called plot fucked. And
yes,
that was what I was told. And you know what? That prevented me from probably having a lot of more fun than I could have if I actually got involved in some of this stuff, because I was like, I got to stay away from this or stay away from that. And that's actually the exact wrong thing to do.
It is the wrong thing to do. It is, honestly, because to get involved in a story, I mean, it's like, again, I keep circling it back to the current experience and how much it's more positive, in that here plot may mess you over, but they're never going to mess you over to the extent of you're not going to have a fun time.
Right.
I mean, it's like this game here, the newer one. We have an event. There's an adventurers. I believe it's one of the main characters that that plot portrays is an adventurer who sends people out to do things.
Sure. Yeah.
It may be something innocuous. Farmer Bob has got his sheep have gone missing again. Yeah. That damn Farmer Bob can't keep his sheep for nothing.
Like 5 times a day.
He's like 5 times a day. I mean, it's but they would they send out adventures, and at some point in time, those actually tie into stories that are going on in the in the game itself. What's up with Farmer Bob?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something with Farmer Bob? And then the event, the head of the Adventurers Guild might actually send you out on an adventure to go find this ancient artifact. That'll definitely be, that's definitely probably going to tie into something.
Yeah.
But it's like, so they basically give. So this plot will basically will give you ends into the story.
Okay.
And they will also, a good plot committee will will listen to a character, listen to a character's history,
mm-hmm.
and take into account player action, for better or for worse.
Yeah, that's very important.
I mean, we had again, the whole necropolis thing that we were talking about earlier started because a player did something.
Well, that's good.
A player did an action, created these necropoli, and the town had to deal with it. So basically, we took a one-off thing, and the players caused a plot line that lasted a year.
That's awesome to have that player agency where they could kind of actually affect the game.
The more player agency you have, the more the players feel invested. So if I was giving any advice to plot, take into account what the players want.
Yeah.
If the players want to do this, you're better off working with going in that direction than trying to make them go to do what you want them to do.
Sure. So we are getting to about that kind of hour point. Okay. And so we're actually a little bit over. But was there anything else that you kind of wanted to talk about specifically that you think would be a benefit, or any quick little stories?
I mean, it's story wise, there's no such thing as a quick story.
Okay.
But I mean, I would say the takeaway is I think we are at a time now within this year,
mm-hmm.
to where we could see the LARPing community in Atlanta grow. With more, with more communication, and as Chuck said, less old, less good old boys. We just need to be more open, and honestly not be afraid to advertise that we're that we're out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been here since 91, 91, 92. And we're getting, it's with every iteration, we're getting better, and Absolutely. We're getting, and now with the media giving us a better spin, we just need to find a way to be open, inclusive, and accepting of new players, and try to draw them in.
Absolutely. That's actually one of the reasons why, again, I wanted to do LFG Nexus is, it's a place where people could come and, again, if you own a LARP, let us know. We'll see about helping you get your events on there. It's a place where you can reach out, talk to people, and where people will be going to, that they can find these different events and get more involved.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely kind of why we're doing also parts of this.
And I mean, and honestly, I am open. If anybody wants to find me on Facebook, I'm relatively easy to find.
Awesome. So that was going to be my next thing. I want to give you the option to, is there anything you want to promote that maybe you're working on, that you're involved in, that, if you do want to mention that name of the LARP now, because you're just so into it.
Okay. So,
feel free to.
So I've been dancing around it. The name of the LARP that I'm playing right now, is Uncharted Realms.
Okay.
It is part of the Nero franchise.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about that is, however, there's a lot of old school gamers that are coming back.
That's also why we're here, to reinvigorate people.
Yeah. Like I said, the initial set. The funny thing is the initial 10 people that played the first game,
mm-hmm.
all played another game.
Okay.
That you have played as well.
Yeah.
But they played that old that old game, and now they've crossed over. And so where once it was a division, it's now come back together. And so we are, and there you go. Yes, 18th to the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chuck.
Does Chuck run the game?
No, Chuck is a member of the team that I'm on.
Okay.
At Uncharted Realms.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he and his wife Sherry, we go way back. We used to be on plot together at Nero.
Okay.
There's you don't ever want to have the three of us on plot at the same time.
Okay. All right.
But no, so basically we've got that, that's the game that I'm playing. That's the game I'm playing right now. I am actually open to new games.
Cool.
Unfortunately, I have a couple of side gigs that restrict my
Well,
my
we only
weekends
have
a
so
bit.
much time.
I have now decided that I'm trying my hand as a background actor, or as I like to refer to it, movable furniture. Um, but so that basically restricts me from doing stuff. But like I say, find me if you want to find me on Facebook, Charles Bailey. There's only a few of us.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm surprised.
And I'm going to say, if you're a LARPer, you may actually have mutual friends, so make it easier to find.
Cool.
But yeah, the other thing I do is, it's not LARPing. I do photography.
So if you want, what you can do is just send me your contact information for anything that you're willing to put out there, and I can put it into the notes. So, for example, on the YouTubes, or because this is being streamed over several different places, but at least on the YouTube, where it's pretty much going to stay forever.
Okay.
I could put that into the area so that people could, if anyone's interested in reaching out to Charles, I'll get his contact information. I'll put it in there, and you'll be able to reach out to him through whatever he decides to provide.
Like I say, it is. I'm pretty much very. It's like you can definitely find me there. Trying to see if there's a. Oh, there we go. It's like, oh wow, I didn't realize that it actually has the short version of it, Charles EB9.
Interesting. So, by the way, also if you're watching us on YouTube, you could also click that subscribe button. We got a lot of different things that are coming out. Or like us on Facebook, the LFG Nexus page. But Charles, I really appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing a lot more about some of the different things. I mean, we've talked to some other people that were at DuallyCon.
God, yeah.
There's a very small list.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been of the folks that were there. There's very not a lot that are still around. Well, at least gaming. So,
yeah.
But yeah, DuallyCon, like I say, DuallyCon, Fantasy Fair, all the old school.
Absolutely. So we definitely appreciate you coming on. And sharing your stories, kind of telling us a little bit more, kind of helping us. And actually, I didn't think about it, but by you bringing up kind of Shattered Isles, that kind of gave us a whole thing to be able to see a little bit more about the parlor LARP, the light touch LARP, and then the light touch that has the hit location, which I've actually never played in, but I had looked at creating a LARP not too long ago, and it was going to be a combination of hit location / armor sort of thing. I don't know how well it would have worked, but it was kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, it's just to spitball it, armor armor could definitely be a point system, and then your hit your hit locations once you get through the armor.
Yeah, it was going to go to hit location.
Yeah, so I mean that would be, honestly, I would love to see that. I would love to see a hybrid like that, because the worst time I ever died was I was in full plate armor at the tavern. And there was somebody playing a rat.
Okay.
And they were under the tavern.
Okay.
And they were hitting me, and I couldn't feel it because I had plate armor, although I was wearing full plate.
Yeah.
And the guy pops his head out and says, "By the way, I've hit you 50 times. I'm like, "For 2. And literally what the people saw was I fell down dead, because I had taken 100 points of damage to my ankle,
which is part of the problem with the hit location.
Which is part of the problem.
With the total armor and health together.
Total armor health, yeah. So if you ever do that, I would love to see it.
I gotta be honest, trying to run LFG Nexus and a few other things.
Oh yeah,
running a LARP. I mean, this was a couple of years ago. It was gonna be like kind of zombie stuff, because zombies, like between The Walking Dead, which was a lot more popular then, and Zombieland and a few other things. World War Z. It was kind of in that whole area. But
Yeah.
I've decided kind of against it. But again, like I said, definitely appreciate you coming on, kind of sharing some of your wisdom of being around and some of the stories. That's been great. And if you don't mind just holding on for just 1 second, just to let everybody else know, I think next week I don't actually have anyone scheduled. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what I'm doing with this podcast or vlog or whatever you want to call it. I think I might actually like have my own interview type of thing, where I might just kind of have
Oh,
someone come in and interview me.
cool.
Because I haven't really had to like I have so many stories I want to tell that I haven't had a chance to, and I really try to make it when I'm talking to someone like yourself. Today I've probably been a little bit more animated in terms of kind of jumped in a little bit more than I normally would. Like I try to definitely give you your time and to talk about stuff, but
oh, trust me, if you let the reins loose, no, Lord knows where it would end up.
Exactly. But with that being said, like I have some stories I want to tell. So I think I don't know if I'll interview myself or just kind of do this sort of thing, but I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. But so I think that I'm going to give myself a week to kind of also figure out how far we're going to go. I do have some other people that are interested in coming on the show. I'm just trying to figure out where we're going and what I want to kind of get out of it. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great meeting some people. Again, Charles, we know of each other. I think we've played a couple of games together, but it's more of kind of the first time I've really interacted with you for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Some other people you've seen, I've known for years.
Oh yeah. No.
And so I'm just trying to figure some stuff out. But again, Charles, thanks for coming on. Everybody, thanks for watching. I'll probably post something for next week, and then we'll kind of figure out how things are going to go.
Well, thank you very much. Like it's been enjoyable.
Chuck, that's definitely a good idea. Or might just have someone else come in and interview me. But I'm glad that you had a good time. It was really interesting hearing some of the different stories and just kind of talking about stuff. Talking about the LARP stuff.
Oh well, yeah. Trust me, if you ever show up in game, the stories are a lot different.
So just my daughter is about to turn 18. She's about to go to college. She just decided what college she's going to. And so we're going to be here so she'll be living in a couple of months. And she's been wanting to LARP since she was probably like 8. Because I used to tell her bedtime stories of my characters, the ones that I could tell, And so she's been dying to go. She's been picking up stuff from Amazon, or she's about to start doing some stuff to make some more money right before the Renfest is coming, I think, in about a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
She's got some stuff last year that she's going to be able to apply. And so, she's
just stay away from Wish. Don't ever order from Wish.
Oh, she did. And I had a conversation with her about that, and she saw the quality stuff. So, but, again, Charles, thank you so much for your time. And, again, I'll post again what's going to happen for next week. Again, we always keep it at the same time, same day, just for the consistency. And of course, people can always come back and watch the videos, later. They're on our channel, or I'll put them onto LFG Nexus as well. But Charles, if you could hold on for just a second, but thank you everybody for coming in and getting involved and watching and asking questions. Specifically, Chuck, thank you for everything. So thanks everybody. Have a great night. If you get a chance, check out lfgnexus.com. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.